Hello and welcome back to Kenny the Sports Guys podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Severa. And in this edition of SportsBall Talk, Marie Shadows, host and founder of Sports Circle podcast, joins the show. Ms. Shadows is an avid wrestling fan who covers WWE, AEW, and considers herself to be the professor of New Japan Pro Wrestling. In addition, she has worked with WWE as a WWE Network, I hope I'm saying this correctly, video logger for a time. Please welcome to the show, Marie Shadows. Thank you for being on the show today, Marie.
Oh, it's great to have for me to be here, Kenny. Thank you for asking.
All right. So, as I already previously alluded to, you are a avid wrestling fan, as so am I. And you work with WWE for a time being. The first question I have to ask is, how did your love of wrestling get started?
So it started with my dad. He started me out very early, having me watch NWA, IWA Mid-South, WCCW, like all the old school wrestling that he grew up in. And it just, that love that he got just transferred over to me. And I loved it ever since I was 7 and like continue to like watch it. I didn't really have a period where I stopped. So, I just grew to love it. And I went to like local shows just to like absorb more wrestling and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been with me ever since.
Oh, you got the same road as me because I've been a wrestling fan since the womb, and I love the old school WWE, like the Golden Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, the Attitude Era. Yeah. No, nobody can beat the Attitude Era though.
Pretty much.
So the next question I have is, as I already alluded to before, you were a WWE Network logger, video logger. Yes. Can you explain how the job was and how you got that position?
Okay, so I basically got that all on luck because growing up, because growing up, I told everybody and anyone that would listen to me that I'm going to make it to WWE. That was my dream when I was like 7. I'm like, I'm going to make it there. But first, I was going to make it there as a writer because, the good thing about, being in school was that I was good at writing and spelling. So like that was like my calling. So my background is actually in creative writing and I have a publishing certificate. So I was like, oh, I got those degrees. Let me go try out for like being a WWE writer. Unfortunately, at the time, I was working at this place called Spyscape over here, and one of my coworkers knew one of the hiring managers at WWE. So she introduced me to the hiring manager, and that's how I got my foot into the door for getting the WWE Network logging opportunity. Rather than the writing one. Like I applied so many times for the writer one, but they never looked at me. But this one got my foot in the door because like anybody could do this. I got in, I talked to the hiring manager, we had the interviews. I took the Metro North all the way to Connecticut. This was in the summer of 2018. And I walked my ass to the production building. And it's kind of weird going through a parking lot without a car because I don't drive. But I made it there, had my in-person interview, and then, started like not too long after that. So what it was that you basically go to this other location rather than in the main building because
really?
I guess they didn't have I guess they didn't have enough room. Oh. But then again, at the time, my division was like Fight Club. You knew it existed, but you couldn't really talk about it.
I love that reference. I love that reference.
So basically, we would put somewhere else. But what we did every single Monday through Friday was sit down at a cubicle for 8 hours, watch professional wrestling, watch WWE programming really, and make the SEO stronger for people to search. So if you just wanted John Cena matches, they'll pop up. If you wanted JBL matches, if you wanted stuff from the 80s, it was very specific, it had to pop up. If something weird popped into there, we weren't doing our jobs right, but it was to make the WWE Network search a lot more easier for you guys. So we sat there for 8 hours, put all the keywords in and, made it like that.
That actually sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds like a easy job, but if you really do it, it's not really an easy job considering there's so many content in it, especially with the WWE Network. I mean, they put every match known to man in that network, and
And
unfortunately,
it wasn't just matches though. It was also it's also the TV shows,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. They really did ask you like what you wanted. I remember they asked us like, well, they asked me if I wanted to take like Total Divas, and I was like, no. I just want I'm gonna give me wrestling. That's it. Give me wrestling, don't give me anything else.
So what was it like working for WWE, and have you met any superstars while your time there?
So I loved it because I accomplished my dream. I made friends with almost all the production crew people. Nice. So basically, like sometimes during my lunchtime, after like I would eat, I would because right next to us in the building was basically like I'm gonna call it the control center, where basically they make sure that like on the WWE Network, like at 2:00, like I don't know, SummerSlam gets played, and then maybe like at 4 or 5, like another show gets played. Like they had to make sure that those are on time. I hung out in that room all the time, and I talked with them. I made friends. I made connections. Unfortunately, we didn't have any wrestlers come over because again, it was more like that whole thing of we're Fight Club. They know we exist, but no one really wants to come over. The only cool thing that I really did enjoy was that we had happy hour. It was a Friday. We had like a half a day, and like right next to the building, there was like this nice little like get together for like drinks and like food from like this truck and stuff, and like Vince was paying for that. So
really?
So Vince like paid for the drinks, the food, and everything. The food was fantastic. I was like, yo, this is some really good food from this truck. The drinks were good too. I went around, gave my business card out to everyone else too, talked to them, told them what I did. I wasn't really afraid to be like, hey, I'm Marie, what's up, how's it going? But I don't regret it. There are like a couple of management issues, of course, like always, but yeah, as usual. But one of them is no longer there. He got released with the rest of the budget cuts people, not
the great purge of 2020 and 2021.
yeah so one of them is not there, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
So switching gears now, you have your own podcast called Square Circle Podcast. I heard some of your episodes and the most recent one, and I believe it's really, really good. And the next question I have is, how did this podcast get started?
Okay, so it got started in October 19th, 2019. So this is like a year after like WWE like released me. And I knew nothing about podcasting. Like I was never interested in it and stuff like that, but I figured that talking is a lot more easier and faster than it is writing, because writing is like my bread and butter, but that takes me a little, that takes me a little too long to like get out to the public. But like I know an audio episode could be like, oh, bam, there you go, guys, listen to me talk. But it came about because I got upset at Hell in a Cell. That was the day that we had The Fiend versus Seth Rollins, and like
the stupidest ending ever.
Yes,
that was so stupid.
Yes, so because of that, that's how the Square Circle Podcast came about. And at first, I had friends help me out with it, but then later on, it just became my own little thing. So it's my own little baby. It went through like trial and error. Like I wanted to have like interviews on there, but like me personally, I'm still getting over my shyness. Like now, if you to ask me now, that's fine. But like earlier to try to interview people, no, because I don't know. I just get so much into my head, but then it just turned into me trying to fix professional wrestling. Like if I know that, okay, so for example, everyone thinks that I hate AEW. I don't. I want them to succeed because I know that they are still the alternative. So now my whole motto is I want to make sure that I leave professional wrestling better than it was yesterday by giving you, what's wrong, how we could fix it, and here's like a simple remedy for you to like put into motion like right now. Like that's my whole like idea about the Square Circle Podcast, is to try to leave professional wrestling better than it was yesterday.
It's actually a really good goal that you have there, and Me, I'm a huge AEW fan, so we might have a little bit of a clash later on in this interview because
it's all good.
There's some stuff that you're not gonna agree with, and I'm not gonna agree with, but it's all good. So now is debate time.
Okay.
So sure. I got a series of questions where I ask you a question and we debate on certain topics. So the first question I have is, which wrestling company is the best in the world right now? WWE, AEW, or New Japan Pro Wrestling, or Impact?
New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Why?
So New Japan Pro Wrestling has the better storylines, in my opinion, currently going on right now, where I can actually like sit down, watch it, and then relay it to the fans and be like, this is why you should be invested. This is why this is the stuff you should know about it. New Japan Pro Wrestling has like this ambition behind like everything that they do. Everyone is so competitive, yet then, you know, they all have their motivations. They all have, you know, their flaws and like what makes them like unique. I could tell them apart very differently. It's not like sometimes in other wrestling companies where I'm like, I can't give you the full, you know, breakdown. If I can't give you the full breakdown, then like, you know, I fail. If I could give you the full breakdown and let you become as invested as I am into something that's like really good, then I've done my job. It's just something different about the quality of the matches, the quality of the wrestlers, the dedication that they, you know, put out there into the world. So that's why, you know, I'm more towards New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, I'm not saying the rest of the companies, you know, just flat out suck. They all have their flaws. They all have their like good points, bad points and everything. But the thing that makes me the most happiest is New Japan Pro Wrestling.
And that's all that matters at the end. Actually, it's funny you bring that up because I actually a couple of weeks ago, I went to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And I actually went to a New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, this was my first ever event at New Japan, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. Like, I saw Minoru Suzuki wrestle. Yeah. I saw what's his name? Jay White wrestle. Yeah, it was just amazing. But going back to my question, I would have to disagree with you. I would have to say that AEW is the best in the world right now in terms of their roster, in terms of their superstars or wrestlers, or however you want to call them. Mm-hmm. And I love the storylines from it. I mean, I give you an example. The MGF and Wardlow storyline is absolutely amazing. And I just want to see how it ends. I just hope that MGF gets his ass beat by Wardlow pretty soon because it's coming closer and closer to that point. Also, you have the Jericho Appreciation Society. They named themselves Sports Entertainers, which is absolutely hilarious to me. I think Jericho is getting better with age. And let's see what else. I actually love Hangman Page as well. I think he's a good world champion. However, I have one gripe with him. I feel like they're not using him to his fullest potential. Like, because this week actually, he didn't come on the show because he had COVID.
Yeah.
But they had to rewrite everything. But I'm looking forward to Double or Nothing. I'm looking forward to his match with CM Punk. And as far as, but you actually convinced me with New Japan Pro Wrestling because all they basically do is wrestle. And ever since I saw that Killer Cross versus Minoru Suzuki match live in Dallas.
All right, okay. How was that? Because I mean, it's different from me watching it like from home. So how was that?
It was loud. It was actually very, very loud, and it was like the best match I have ever seen live, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like, Killer Cross, like he is such an underrated wrestler. Like, I have no idea why WWE released him.
Okay, because I mean, I want to jump in on that because you know, I remember when we're gonna call him Karrion Kross or Killer Kross, whatever they called him. When he came into NXT and he had, you know, now his wife with him and they had the whole get up and everything. I was like, yo, this is gonna be something great. Like, I could get behind it because again, his wife like made him, you know, in a way. And then once you take her away, you're like, all right, I need something, dude. Like, I need something to attach onto you. But I'm glad that like you enjoyed Minoru Suzuki versus like, you know, Karrion Kross at the show, because what you see live doesn't really come through when I'm here watching it at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yo, I just know that like there has to be something in Karrion Kross to like bring that monster out of him, to have him something be different, because I don't want him to like fall to the side of like, you know, he's just another looking regular wrestler, you know? Because like I was worried about it when they were like, oh, let's have, you know, Karrion Kross versus Murder Grandpa. Excuse me. Like, is that really the first debut match you really want to have is against Murder Grandpa? No, it's not. Like, wait until you have like maybe 10 matches. And then you're like, Murder Grandpa, like, I'm coming for you. Like, not like your debut match. I was just like, oh no, this is so bad. But yeah, like, you know, the way that I get passionate about certain people, so I don't want like wrestlers to like, I want wrestlers to get over. You know, I don't want them to like just go off to the wayside after doing so many years of like breaking their body for us, like to all of a sudden not be over. So like, you know, I'm glad that while you were there live, it came out differently than over here. But yeah, like, poor guy.
So here's a fun fact about Minoru Suzuki. He actually wrestled 3 matches that night, but in 3 different promotions.
Yep, I know that.
So he went to New Japan, and then he went to ROH, and then he went to another promotion and fought at midnight.
Yes.
Which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So the next thing I have is, I don't know if you haven't heard, obviously you have, but AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling is having a pay-per-view in Chicago on June 26th. So I wanted to see your thoughts on that pay-per-view.
Well, I got yelled at for my opinion, but that's okay. On Twitter, of course.
I can't wait to hear this.
So, like, you know, I just don't trust Tony Khan. I really don't. I don't trust his booking style. There's just something off about Tony that I'm just like, yo, I'm gonna stick to my instincts and my red flags and watch it from afar and stuff like that. I'm not too invested because if he were to show all of the New Japan guys that ever came onto AEW, right? If he was to show them equally, the same way that the AEW guys get treated equally, where there's like a balance between like wins and losses whenever New Japan comes over, I wouldn't be so like protective of New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's the fact that like the way that New Japan Pro Wrestlers are showcased in AEW, I sort of think that sometimes the fans, when they get into their like tribalism bubbles, that they don't really give the full respect. Huh?
Tribalism bubbles. I like that.
Yeah, I made it up on the spot. So, you know, when they get into that, I still don't know if there's like enough respect there, because when people go into fantasy booking, it's like, guys, you're gonna have to like really think about, you know, who could come over here, who can't come over here. You know, don't forget about the New Japan Strong guys. Like the New Japan Strong guys should get the first pick of being on the pay-per-view. Another thing too is that like we're probably gonna have a lot of multi-man matches in order to get almost everybody on the card. And if it's Tony Khan booking, we're probably gonna be here till like 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, I just don't think that we need it right now in the summer. I think that this pay-per-view should have been like either in August, where it has room to breathe and there's nothing else going on, or maybe towards like the holiday season, because people were more inclined to spend the money for the holiday season, to treat themselves for like Christmas gifts. Maybe their birthday is coming up towards the holiday season. Like you make a lot more money there. You could spend money on marketing and stuff. So like August, maybe towards like the end of the year would have been better. Because my whole thing is that because now it's on June 26th, it overshadows Double or Nothing. And to me personally, I think Double or Nothing is like, you know, AEW's WrestleMania. Yeah. So I'm here thinking like in a very big picture way of like, guys, you're not going to get what you want. Like you're going to get like the bare minimum. And I really hope we kind of remember it. It's just that everything that's happening across the board is going to be like, yo, this is way too fast. I want to enjoy the moment. I want to be in the moment and be like, this was a good idea. You know, Obari, the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, he's in the he's in the business of making dream matches. That's why we got New Japan X Noah at the time, and that was an okay super show. But I hope it does well. I just don't trust it as well as I should,
Well, let's see. I appreciate your opinion. I actually respect it, but I feel like it's gonna deliver in a tremendous way. I do agree with you on the part. There's gonna be a lot of tag matches, like 6-man tags.
Yeah, there is,
because of that's how Tony Khan rolls, and I trust Tony Khan with all my heart. So I think it's gonna be good, but I really don't think he's gonna overshadow Double or Nothing, because Double or Nothing is in May, and you have 2 months to build a show for New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Forbidden Door, and they could do it. I believe they could do it twice. They could do both. So they already started with this past Wednesday with Hangman Page versus CM Punk for the AEW title at Double or Nothing. But also, a lot of people are not going to talk about this, but Money in the Bank is on July 2nd. So I think the reason why they put June 26th is because they want to take away some of the thunder WWE has on that pay-per-view. Because in my opinion, I think Cody's going to win Money in the Bank. He's going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And this is just something AEW can do to steer the attention away from WWE to their to this New Japan Pro Wrestling event. And I feel like, I think it's gonna be a really, really good event. I trust Tony Khan. I do not trust Vince McMahon at times, but so the next question I have is, will it change the face of the wrestling industry forever? In your opinion?
Wait, say what's the question again?
So the question is, will it change the face of the wrestling industry forever?
What, you mean this pay-per-view or
the pay-per-view?
Without a doubt, yeah, it probably is going to change. Just because it's a partnership. It's something that we could get behind and maybe have some more down the line. I'm not gonna tarnish that. I'm gonna definitely say that it's gonna change.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, this is something I feel like has never been done before, or it hasn't been done in a long time. And I think it caters to both the hardcore fans and the casual fans from all around the world. So let's talk about a little bit of WWE.
Sure.
So I just wanted to know your thoughts on the women's division in WWE right now. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
What? So I usually tell this to everybody that I keep WWE programming on as background noise, but I do pay attention for when stuff like this comes up and people ask me, so I can be part of the conversation. The women's division is doing just fine. The women's division has, for WWE, the women's division is fine, because you guys got to remember that WWE, it's in its own bubble. These women can't really go out to the indies to sort of show off what they could really do. So we got to just think of it in terms of WWE, and for WWE, it's perfect for them. The women are still having interactive storylines. They're still on TV. They still have their TV time, even if maybe their matches are 3 minutes. Maybe the top could be 6 minutes long and stuff like that. So for WWE standard, the women's division is just fine, if that makes sense.
I mean, I agree with you on that part, but I think it'd be a lot better considering that I feel like it's the same 5 women that win the championship. So you got Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, now Bianca Belair. She's a phenomenal athlete, but I feel like she's going to win the title 10 to 15 times in her career. See who else.
I can see that.
Well, yeah, I believe they're trying to build her up to Roman Reigns status, the female version of him. But I feel like, have some a little bit more variety in your women's division. I would not mind seeing another Rhea Ripley title reign, a Liv Morgan as well.
Man, I want Liv to get the belt, because I'm you can't just keep having her lose and then try to build up. and have her build up this momentum and then lose again. And it's like she puts in the most hardest like work in the background of like training. She trains with Natalia. Like, come on. If anything, like send her down to NXT 2.0. I don't know, but like I want her to get the belt, man.
I want her to get the belt too, but it just she's not getting the opportunity. Like I remember earlier this year where she had like a title match with Becky, and I think she won 3 times.
Yo, she should have won at least one of those matches. Like at least one. Like just give her the belt.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I mean, the women's division, like you said, is fine, but I just want more. I just want different champions. I'm tired of seeing Charlotte Flair as champion. I'm tired of seeing Becky Lynch as champion. You know?
Yeah, right.
It's just ridiculous. So, what are your thoughts on the AEW women's division?
It needs help. They have the talent, you know, it's there. What I really don't like is that most of the women matches are either on Dark and Dark Evolution. Sometimes they'll get away with being on Rampage, but it's like if Rampage remained on Fridays at like 7 right before SmackDown, you know, it'll be a little bit better, you know, because then people who like, you know, come home from like work or like hanging out with their friends could turn on and like flip to the channels and be like, oh my God, look, it's women's wrestling on AEW. And then, you know, there'll be a lot more like, I want to see more of the women, you know. I do think that AEW needs to stop having like a 15-minute sort of block for the women that don't do anything. So like they'll have the backstage segments that feel like 3 seconds long with their interviews. They'll have like, you know, maybe the 4-minute matches like regular in the ring, like right before the main event. Like, yo, you just don't know, man. Like I wish that I can help the women's division like so much to try to be as equal like as the men, to make it like feel kind of good when, you know, it's written on paper. You know, I always say that not every wrestler can write their own stories, and this is why, you know, companies need writers, because someone like myself can think outside the box. Like I've always said that either on my podcast or other people's podcasts that since I like writing by hand a lot, you know, I'll bring my notebook around, I'll sit the women down and like have them tell me their strengths, their weaknesses, and like their goals, right? Because not every wrestler wants to be champion or something, but they want to like do something else. So like, you know, you build off storylines based off like their weaknesses, so that way you could tell stories of like how to get over your obstacles and relatable stories, so that way you could attract those casual fans. So that way the casual fans could be like, well, if I'm suffering through X, Y, and Z, and that wrestler is suffering through the same thing, I could definitely get over it too, the same way that person is going to get over it. Like, you want stories to like inspire. There's nothing that the AEW women right now are, that what they're doing is like feeling like, oh my God, I want to get behind them, you know? Like, you know, I used to like Britt. I think like her time has like definitely sort of like passed a little bit, and I really think she needs to take a really long vacation and then like come back like super fresh. You know, we have Thunder Rosa as like our champion, but yet then there's not enough of Thunder Rosa because she has Mission Pro Wrestling, you know. Even though I don't mind the two, but it's just the idea of like, you know, Thunder should like be there a little bit more, you know, whenever Tony Khan tells her like to, you know, stuff like that. But it's like, I just wish I can like help in that regard to help build up these stories that like we're not really getting. I don't really like the whole baddie section kind of thing, because I'm just like, how does that help somebody? Like, you're just teaching them to be like narcissistic, make them materialistic and shit like that, while we're all
but that's the point though. That's like the point. That's like a heel faction right there. Because a lot of people are not gonna like that, because especially with the women.
That's me. I'm just like, yo, I'm poor. I'm wearing a Switchblade shirt to like be very comfortable. You know, I don't care. You know, I just want to help AEW's women's division. That's all I want to do, because I know that these women have more to offer than like what they're getting. You know, it's frustrating.
Well, here's the thing about the women's division in AEW. People tend to forget that AEW is a 3-year-old company. And obviously, you're not going to get everything right in year 3 of your company's existence. So also, the women's division in WWE, the Revolution happened, I think, a decade ago. So that's actually, so that actually, is still in this, infancy stage where you got the women finally getting their chances, winning titles, being in high profile matches, main eventing WrestleMania. But I feel like the AEW's women's division is talent wise slightly better because is so deep. That you got Rudy Soho, you got Jade Cargill, who by the way, I didn't like before, but now a year later, she improved. They still Brian Danielson, by the way, because he was the one that trained her.
Yeah.
So I love Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa deserves the belt, absolutely.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I feel like she is kind of an afterthought as well. Yes. She's the AEW champion, and I would love to see more of her. I mean, her feud with Nyla Rose was fine. I mean, it was a short feud, but the feud I'm looking forward to with her is Serena Deeb. They kind of hinted at that Wednesday night. So Serena Deeb, as you know, she is very, very good.
Yeah.
So I feel like, the AEW women's division in terms of talent is really, really deep. And I feel like more and more women AEW is gonna get a shot at the title than WWE's women's division, which right now it seems like only 5 women can get the title.
Yeah, it's it's tricky too. When you try to book either division, like whatever women's division we're talking about, it's kind of tricky to sort of book it. But staying on the topic with AEW, like we have the ranking system, right? I was just saying this earlier, like just to myself, like I don't understand why maybe like a number 4 rank can't try to run their mouth to like Jade and be like, look, I'm not waiting till I'm number 1. I'm gonna, leave the pack. I'm gonna try to beat your ass and get the belt, right? Because like I don't know why they can't run like multiple stories with the rankings and before waiting for like number 1. Like I think it'll be a little bit more exciting if we had like the number 4 sort of be like, Jade, I'm gonna go kick your ass, and then like maybe number 3 to be like, yo, Thunder Rosa, like you're never here, like you should drop the belt or something. Like I think that will make us more like, oh my god, I want to see the AEW's women's division. If it's a lot more better shit talking than like what we get during the backstage promos, like I just want them to use the rankings right. Do you understand the rankings?
I mean, some days yeah, some days no, because
that's a very
right now for some reason they have Jon Moxley ranked 4th in the men's rankings for the TNT belt and the AEW belt, which is kind of odd considering that he hasn't been featured as much. He only been featured as in the Blackpool Combat Club, who I love by the way. So that doesn't really make no sense. I mean, it's going to improve over time, I have no doubt, but I think AEW is going to be fine in the long run. I mean, look, I love AEW more than WWE actually, and I just feel like it's a better product right now, but it has a lot of work to do. I admit, it has a lot of work to do. So the final 2 questions I have is, if you were Vince McMahon, how would you fix the current state of WWE to make it better?
Oh man, if I was Vince McMahon, I would actually hire people who understand professional wrestling. I will, if I can, I will outsource, stuff that needs to be outsourced. I'll let the wrestlers do what they got to do. So like if they're like Shinsuke can, go back to being, a New Japan wrestler. AJ could do what he wants. Damian Priest can definitely still be like Punishment Martinez in a way from back in the day. I would just let people do what they got to do when they're in the ring. When it comes to stories, if they're able to, do the promo themselves, awesome. They got full control. However, if they need help, then like help will be there, but it won't be a freaking script. It won't be like, hey, make sure you memorize these lines. No, we're gonna take it back to the Attitude Era where like, you get bullet points, you make sure that you get your point across, and then you go from there. If somehow we come to a fork in the road where like no one knows what to do, that's why you pull out the handy notebook and you're like, all right, cool. We did A, B, C. All right, D, you didn't work on. So let's go back and revisit that story layer and let's, tie up some loose ends and stuff like that. Feuds are going to be lasting a long time. I think I would eliminate some pay-per-views just so that way there could be a little breathing gap because, to take a page out of AEW's book, I do think that having 4 pay-per-views out of like the year is a good thing, give or take. So I would drop some like WWE pay-per-views if like we don't really need them, just to prolong feuds. But that's like off the top of my head, that's what I could think of.
So for me, I only have one major complaint about WWE, like how I fix that. I would just say let the wrestlers be themselves, create their own promos instead of relying on heavily scripted promos that actually wasn't really that good. Yeah. So that's like the only complaint I have with WWE. And also, for the love of God, stop with the commercial breaks. Like literally, I get they have to get paid for it, but it just feels like in a 3-hour Raw show, you only get maybe like 10 minutes worth of fighting, of wrestling.
Yeah. It's the networks, man. You gotta be a good negotiator to be like, hey, network, listen, I got people, I can't.
Yeah, because even if he attended a live event, like I went to WrestleMania a couple of weeks ago, and it just feels like for a 3-hour event, there was only maybe 40 minutes worth of wrestling. The others were just either advertising or just video packaging. Too much video packaging ruins everything.
Yeah, it depends for me when it comes to video packaging, but it depends on like the event and like what we need to video package.
So the final question I have is, if you were Tony Khan, how would you fix the current state of AEW?
We don't have enough time in the world for me to talk about this.
Just give me the short version, like a quick 30 seconds.
All right, this is all going to come off the top of my head, but I will definitely downsize the roster. Because I just think there's way too many people. I will not do a revolving door like AEW has, where like 1 week you see one guy, the next week you really don't see him. Because I said this analogy before that, like, imagine your favorite like HBO show. You have the main character and you see the main character for week 1, week 2, and then weeks 3 to 9, the main character goes missing, but none of the other characters know where he's at. And then that main character shows up on week 10, and you're like, where the fuck have you been, right? Like, no one knows what's happening. I don't want to do that, because if I'm on national television and I have a guaranteed contract to deliver a television show, you're going to get the main character on there either every week, maybe in a match, maybe doing something, but I would not have no revolving door. Rampage, I would definitely push that. I would have the networks push it to Friday at 7 p.m. And then somehow make it like its own thing and not like an extension of AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite is going to have like a format where we follow and have both men and women compete on there. I will introduce mixed tag matches just to get the women more involved and just have them in there with the men with their counterparts. Everybody's going to be fucking equal. Dark and Dark Evolution, I'll get rid of, like completely get rid of, and have Dark only. I know that they want to give everybody a job, but like, you can't always give everyone a job. Dark will have to be revamped to like something else. Backstage segments, baby faces will finish a promo, because I can't stand heels coming in and interrupting the baby face. And it's like, come on, what is up with that? I want to be invested into the baby face. That's the point of a baby face. I know Tony Khan has Ring of Honor. Don't know what I would do at Ring of Honor. Like, I used to love that place. What else?
Now you hate it.
I don't know what I would do at Ring of Honor. But am I missing anything? I would definitely get a writer's room. I would get a writer's room. I don't care what no one says. I will get a writer's room. I'll be the head of the writer, and then someone else will have to be like the stand-in, like boss, maybe a TV character or whatnot. But yeah, generally, I'll fucking do all that shit and more.
So I have 3 things. One, bring in a trios championship. They need a trios championship.
Oh,
because
yes.
One, they had so many stables out there. Like, I can name literally 10 stables that could be trios champion right now.
Yes, we can.
1, the Blackpool Combat Club. 2, House of Black.
Yeah.
And 3, who else? Who's the
There's like, we could do the Young Bucks with
the Undisputed Elite. Yeah, the Red Dragon.
Yeah, Elite. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could definitely name them all.
Yeah. So the second thing I have is limit the picture-in-picture. Whenever they go into commercial break,
I hate that too.
I feel like they kind of rob the action because you'll be more focused on the commercial than the actual action.
Yes.
So I was kind of upset, like during the FTR match of last Wednesday, and I was really, really into that match. But once they enter picture-in-picture, I was like, come on, man, why are they doing this? Like, they need to limit that. And the third one is feature more women, like have the women, be a part of the show more often, like having them to like maybe 5 to 10 minute matches, time, all that stuff. And that would be the current. If I was Tony Khan, I would fix all that.
Oh yeah. Also, I forgot to add one more thing because I always like make a big thing about it. I would retrain only 2 referees, and that's Bryce and that's Aubrey. Those 2 need to
really? Why Aubrey? Aubrey's good.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
No, she overreacts she doesn't need to overreact with anything that goes on, like the way that she does. She makes it seem as if like she wanted to be a wrestler, but like she's not really a wrestler. I just can't stand the overreaction and her being so dramatic. Like, it looks silly. It really looks silly, dude. It distracts me, and I'm like, you're not the main focus of the match. And then also she sometimes like moves around too much, and she's eventually going to get hurt. So I don't want her to get hurt. I just need her to like just not be silly. Okay.
You sound like me with Pat McAfee. I think he's a terrible announcer. I think
Really?
he's bad. I think he's bad. He overreacts to everything. Like it every time there's like a big moment, he either has a heart attack or like a stroke. It's ridiculous, and I find that very, very bothersome. I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat because of this, but he is a terrible announcer. But he's a good podcaster.
Yeah, he is. He's a good podcaster.
Yeah.
But even with him podcasting, he can get like overexcited, especially with his crew. His crew be hyping up everything. They're like screaming in the background.
Yeah, like I said, he's just like, he's so bad. All right, so the last question I have is, where can people find you and your podcast on social media?
All right, so if you want to find me, of course you want to find me because Twitter likes to find me no matter what. I am at Marie_Shadows. I have my own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Marie_Shadows, where now I could play the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Spirits mobile game for you guys. I played it yesterday, and I got right back into it, and it's super fucking amazing. So head over to twitch.tv/Marie_Shadows, where we can hang out. If you want to take it a step further, I do have a coffee page, which is better than Patreon because it gives you a lot of options. You can give me a one-time donation. You could go shopping in my shop, or you could go to one of the monthly subscriptions. It's all up to you how you want to spend your hard-earned money. Head over to www.ko-fi.com/Marie_Shadows.
All right, you heard the lady. Like, she says it's good, it's good. Well, that's all the questions I have. And thank you to Marie Shadows from the Sports Circle podcast. We do appreciate her. You can find her on her social media pages, as she said before. You can also find this episode on KenTheSportsGuy.com, Kenny the Sports Guy's YouTube channel, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. In addition, head on over to my social media pages on Twitter at Kenny_sports, Instagram at KennySportsGuy1, and TikTok at Kenny Sports Podcast. Until the next episode, See ya, and I hope you stay safe and healthy.